Okay, so in the last video, I said that it took about 20 hours to make the centerpiece. That's including the legs, that's including refitting things. Um, it wasn't just putting a couple of pieces of plywood on a piece of particle board, call it a day. There was a lot more involved in it. That's also about the same time I had the problem with the battery of the camera and I couldn't find the power plug. So another question that came to my mind while I was rewatching that video is, people might ask, well, why did you put a lip? Why is your TV setting up higher? Because all the other videos have it flat, flush. Well, I wanted to differentiate the felt on the underside from the actual TV screen so people can roll dice on it, they can put their minis around it or whatnot and not interfere with the actual gaming top that the minis are on or the combat's taking place or whatever. I knew already that I was going to make a flat felt top inlay to go on top of it for other types of games and things. So, it serves multiple purposes, and I wanted to have that lip. It just seemed like the perfect design element for this specific table. And like I said, it's custom. You can modify. I don't really have any designs. It was mostly in my head and Excel. You can modify this however you want. It's really not that hard. It was a little bit time consuming, but the skill level required was relatively low. I'd say the most difficult part was probably cutting the plexiglass, putting the cloths on, and some of the joint cuts and gluing pieces together. Good morning. Well, now with the main table done, the base of it, I can start working on the top. I got the boards already measured, so I'm going to start cutting those. Then I got to cut some plywood since I've already cut the trimming for the lights, if I do lights. I'm not going to initially do lights, but I pre-scored all the wood so that they have the tray, the little line where the lights will go inside of it. Some other things that I left out while I'm making the tabletop here is the legs. I didn't think you needed a video explaining how to throw two pieces of 2x4 together, one shorter than the other, glue them together, screw them together, sand them, and put them in the bottom of the table and fit those, and then put side slats on each side to reinforce them. They're also quote-unquote modular. They come off. You can put them in a closet and they're out of the way, and you can put this tabletop on a pool table. That was the initial intent. Those weren't designed to be a permanent mainstay, although I have a feeling it's probably going to sit in an extra room and be played on in there for the most part until I actually do get around to get the equipment to do some recording of campaigns and such. This part right here, during the entire process, that table was down. I had no idea what the tabletop looked like, whether it would fit. It was all in one shot. I just laid it on the ground and started putting it together. This was probably not the best idea, but it turned out just excellent. As you can see, the weather changed a little bit. It's not raining too hard, but I got a little bit of a stream coming through my work area. That's not good. I moved the board so it's not touching it. I should be able to at least finish this up, but I'm going to have to, looks like it's going to clear up, and I'm going to have to call it a day because the wood's already gotten wet. And that's not a good sign. That's going to set me back. Alright. The boards didn't actually get damaged by the rain, and while I said it's not raining too hard, it wasn't actually coming into that area too bad. Okay, here's what I got. Now that the rain has passed, I went ahead and put it together. So it's got the trim on it. There's one minor flaw. While I measured this meticulously to make sure that it fit and left enough room on the inside, they're pretty tight. And I have not set this on the table. I have no earthly clue how the top looks and if this will even fit on the table. So yeah, this is going to be exciting. Okay, amateur tip 27. Glue your boards together, especially the supporting structure on the ends, because this is too weak. I mean, it's not really weak, but you don't want to have people putting their full weight on this when they're sitting down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some 2x4s and brace the corners and put small braces here on the sides with felt to bump up against the table. That should give the structural support that it needs. The top's a little rough. It's going to require a lot of sanding and some filler, but otherwise it's looking pretty good. So back to work. Sanding is very arduous, long, boring task. So is staining. So I left off those. This one I'm just putting in place just to show you the amount of time and effort that actually goes into it. But as you can see in the bottom left hand corner, there's the actual DM screen and some of the designs that I came up with, although it's all subject to change. And then I showed a few pictures of the actual staining process, which all in all I think it took me about 4 hours, 4 or so off and on hours to stain the entire project. The next part is the electrical. This probably took another 2 hours or so. I wired the entire table, and instead of putting a hanging plug from the table itself, this last picture will show an actual outlet / plug-in where you can plug in an extension cord. The next part is lighting. The only thing I would have done differently is securing the corners so that they don't hang down, or the tape, the 3M tape on it just wasn't that great. I got these for $40 each, 216 feet boxes from Lowe's. It's not too bad. I've seen some tables that I've played on in the past, and I'm not complaining. I've met all the requirements. I have yet to test this thing on the pool table. That'll come next week. But it does have removable panels. It is modular. Has a little side project. I made these little dice trays. They're not perfect either, but they're pretty good. I got these guys for like, I don't know, this was about $5 cigar box at Walmart. Stained it. Same thing here. I think this was $2 or $3 at Walmart. It was just a crate. I cut it in half to make it smaller. Gave it felt on the bottom, speed cloth on the inside, so it's a dice tray as well. Closes. As far as requirements go, got lights inside the table. Got a TV inside the table. The TV does work. The table itself has a receptacle, a plug-in, so you don't have to have cables hanging around and everything. Let's see if I can show you. There we go. It's got an actual receptacle. You just plug in an extension cord. There are 3 plug-ins, or 4 plug-ins, one on each side of the table. And underneath, I made a special receptacle for the TV itself. In hindsight, the lighting won't actually connect in here. I've got a Fire Stick hooked up to it right now, but the lighting won't actually fit in this area, so that could have been done a little bit better so that I don't have to have it plugged in on my side over here. But that's the LED sensor for the lights right here. The lighting itself is connected underneath. You can barely see it, but there's a cable under there. I'm gonna have to pin these down in the corners because, as you can see here, the lighting has started to fall in some spots. The 3M sticky that's on it isn't as good as I'd expected, so I'll just put some wire ties or something on the corners to secure those so they don't fall down. All in all, it's pretty good. I've got a felt top. I'll show a picture of that. I have an actual felt top that'll sit right here on top of the table in place of the boards so that I can play board games and stuff like that, or just display a map. It's just another felt top just like this guy right here. So that's about it. Next thing is to do some repairs on the lighting, move it downstairs, give it a test run, and then in about another week we got another session and we'll be playing on it. Thank you for watching. Bye. So this is the final product. This pretty much concludes the series. Here's what it looks like before I actually moved it downstairs. It's already sanded, stained, laminate, put a urethane coat or 4 on it. That's with the DM screen, which will rarely get used probably. I haven't come up with a design for the actual screen yet or how I want to do it. On the very top, you'll notice there's a initiative tracker. I basically cut a little groove in the top so that I can put popsicle sticks or what have you in it to track people's initiative. That's with the wooden slats in it. They're far from perfect. I'm not a perfect person. There's the lighting, just to give you an example of what the lighting looks like and when the table is actually plugged in. Unfortunately, with the electrical, one of the electrical boxes I put would not allow for enough space for the lighting to go in there. I think I covered that in the video earlier, but it'll have to be plugged in on my side. And there's some more slats on the ground. There's the actual controller to the lighting. All in all, I'm pretty impressed with the project. It did take quite a bit of time, but it was relatively inexpensive. If I would have ordered this online to these specs, I probably would have paid about $3,000 to get this custom built. It would have been a lot better quality, but at the same time I can reuse all the equipment that I got, and I am pretty impressed and happy with having done this by hand myself. At some point in the future, if it gets really damaged, I may end up replacing the top with some kind of oak or something harder and do a couple of extra sandings and stain coats on it and probably get better quality boards so there's no knots. The screen actually turned out okay after I refit the screen and elevated it just a little bit. The little bubble in the plexiglass went away, and now it sits perfectly on top of the TV, which is what I intended. All in all, I like how it turned out. It's very playable. I've taken it downstairs since and actually done some experiments on it and tested it out. I think it's going to be very enjoyable for our players. I really enjoyed making the video. I hope you liked it. Please like and subscribe. Click the bell. Thank you for watching.